camper van or an RV? Which one is better? Well, hopefully I can shed some light on that and help you guys decide. Campers versus RVs. Well, there's a lot to talk about. I hope I can keep this video short. So here we go. First of all, I'm going to state the advantages and disadvantages of a DIY camper van, and then we'll get into the RVs. DIY camper vans are awesome. You can choose any kind of vehicle you want, including the vehicle that you have already. You basically have choice of everything. They're extremely high quality, because they are meant to be driven and used every day for the most part, especially if you get a commercial vehicle like a box truck or a school bus or something like that. There's so many different combinations, and you could pretty much do everything imaginable according to your needs if you're doing a DIY project. That's one of the biggest draws I have to a DIY camper is I can build it with or without a sink if I want to. I can put things where I want them, and I can do all kinds of stuff to it that I probably couldn't do to an RV unless I gutted it. So I think that's a huge advantage. The maintenance costs on them are a lot cheaper, especially if you buy something smaller like a small cargo van or even a car. You're going to be paying basically, regular oil changes and for regular tires and regular windshields and regular parts. So it's not going to be any different than your regular car mostly. So you're going to have that advantage. Another advantage is if you do pick a smaller vehicle, you're going to have better gas mileage. If you do the schoolie or the big giant box truck route or a big cargo trailer, you're going to have higher maintenance costs and higher gas than you would with a small camper van or something like that. But it's still, I think it's going to be better in the long run than an RV because, it's they're a higher quality. And if you're building your own home, if you're building any home, you want a good foundation. And so I think that a regular old vehicle, especially, something that's like a cargo van or a cargo trailer or a school bus or a box truck or a step van, they're going to be a good foundation to build on. They're not going to fall apart on you as easily, and they are going to be basically your blank canvas that you can customize yourself. And for some people that's what they like. They're easier to blend in an urban situation. If you have to stealth camp, people are used to seeing, cargo vans or regular cars parked around. They're used to seeing box trucks and step vans. As soon as you park an RV someplace like that, it's going to be a big red flag. So, I think that for all of those reasons and a whole lot more than I want to list in this video because I don't want it to get too long, that's just the huge advantage to building your own. You can customize it yourself. You blend in. It's a better quality vehicle. It's going to cost you less to begin with. It's going to cost you less in maintenance. It's just going to be all around better, I think. And to me, all that stuff adds up to less stress. And that's one of the reasons why I do this lifestyle, is so that I can live simply and have a lot less stress. The disadvantages to doing it yourself is, well, you got to do it yourself. That's one of the biggest ones. Or you have to hire somebody that knows what they're doing to do it for you. Otherwise, you're going to be like some people who, like me, who can do most of it and do an okay job, but going to have to live without some stuff that they possibly could have had if they knew what they were doing, which is fine. I don't mind. I'm a simple person. I like living simply, and I will just, I've adapted, and I actually prefer it this way now. And also, one of the reasons why I did get into building my own van is because I do not want a lot of the systems that they have in a house or an RV. And I didn't want to have to waste the gas carrying around things that I wasn't going to use. So to me, I guess one of the disadvantages would be also be a good advantage for me. Another disadvantage is, especially if it's a commercial vehicle, you're going to have to get it retitled as an RV if you want to get good insurance rates and good taxes and licensing fees on it. And depending on the state that you live in, that might be a hard thing to do. Where I live, it's a little bit harder to get it titled as an RV, especially if it's a school bus or something like that, than it would be, let's say, in Arizona or another state like that. If you live where I live in California, you might actually want to get something that's already been built at least one time before, or is in the process and already has the title from another state or already from California, so that you don't have to worry about that. That's one of the ways around it, but it is a disadvantage because you have to really worry about that. And in every thing that you add on to your vehicle, if you're smart, especially if your vehicle is new enough, you're going to want to tell your insurance company about, so in case something happens, that piece of equipment that you put on there is covered as well, which is another headache. Whereas in RV, you don't have that headache because they already assume all that stuff is on there. So yeah, those are some big disadvantages. But for me, all the good stuff really just outweighs that, because that's not very many disadvantages compared to the advantages you get from being able to go further off-road. I mean, there's so many good things that you can do with a DIY project that I didn't even mention, that you're probably going to find out as you go along. And yeah, so I think that that's just awesome. You know, like I say, when something that, you know, if the good outweighs the bad on that, then that's the thing to do for you. But like I say, you have to assess your needs and see what you really need and what you really want before you make the decision. The advantages to having an RV as opposed to having a DIY camper van or camper of some sort is the fact that it's already built. It's already an RV. You don't have to worry about it. If it's in good shape or whatever, and you like the way it is already, you can just do a few tweaks to make it yours, and you're on the road. You don't have to worry about it. You're done. You're already a nomad. You're camping. There you go. You know, and if you don't like it, you change your mind, you can find another RV, or you can do a DIY later. But in the meantime, at least you're going and you're doing it. You don't have to build it yourself. You're on the road. Another advantage is you get better insurance rates. You get better taxes and licensing fee rates. They just basically treat you all around better about it being a recreational vehicle than, say, something that you would build yourself, unless you jump through a whole bunch of hoops. So that's a huge advantage with having an RV. Also, if you are on a payment plan of some sort, especially if it's a newer RV, it's almost like having a mortgage to a house, and so they will let you use that as part of your tax write-off every year, just like you would if you're paying for a home. A lot of the coverage on it when it's insured is pretty much like a home. The insurance companies basically will cover your belongings inside of it up to a certain point. So that's a huge advantage to having something that's already an RV, that you don't have to approve that it's an RV because, well, it, you know, by law it already is, and everything you own in it is covered, and it's covered, and there you go. So those are really good things. Some of them can be very beautiful, very nice, you know, and you can have a lot of features in there like you would in your regular home, and you don't have to worry about where to put those things because they're already in there. Some of the disadvantages to an RV, though, are extremely important. And to me, this kind of stress on them outweighs all the good stuff. That's why I don't do RVs anymore. You know, there are certain ones that I love still, and I always will, but a lot of them are ones that are not made anymore, or if they are, they're pretty rare and they're pretty expensive. And you know, maybe someday I'll have one of those, but and there's a few of them, but I'm not going to list them here. I might do a video on them sometime. But there are a few RVs that I still absolutely love, and if I ever did get a chance to have one, I probably would. But for the most part, I don't like them, and it's because of the disadvantages of owning them. I'm trying to be nice about this because I don't want to offend anybody, because I know a lot of people, they just want to get out there and they love their RVs and they have no problems with them. And more power to you. If you know, if the good stuff outweighs this bad stuff for you, then that's great. But one of my biggest problems with RVs is the fact that they are not that structurally sound. No matter what good quality they are, with the exception of a few that are made out of actual, like, you know, Greyhound bus type buses, like the Prevost RVs. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Prevost, but they're one of the, you know, high-end RVs, and they hold their value, and even old ones cost a lot of money still, and they're diesel pushers and all that, and it's usually like celebrities that have them and things like that. So, and they're pretty rare, but they are made with old, you know, I don't know, quality and durability in mind. Whereas most of your other RVs, even if they're a $200,000 rig, a lot of times they're not. They cut a lot of corners structurally, and it's very dangerous when you're on the road. They basically take the same chassis as like a commercial vehicle, but they cut most of the body away, sometimes all of the body away, depending on what type of motorhome it is. If it's a Class A, they've basically taken the whole body off and put their own on it. And not only do I think that looks, you know, to me that's unattractive, but also it's not structurally sound. They don't use enough lumber or bracing in them a lot of times. They're trying to keep the weight down, so they use less studs, or they use smaller studs, or really small studs far apart. They use a lot of just cheap materials to put them together, whether it be the furniture parts or the structural parts, which to me, that's the most important. I wouldn't care if my furniture fell apart after a while, because I could always fix that, but I don't want my roof caving in on me. And I've seen way too many RVs with caved in roofs, and some of them weren't even that old. They put a lot of weird seams in weird places where water gets in and seeps in and leaks, and they're just not sound. There's no real protection for you, especially even if you buy a brand new one or a newer used one. There's no protection against that. They basically can do whatever they want and sell these things broken like this, and a lot of times people have a hard time getting them fixed. No matter how many warranties they have on these things, they're basically told that they have to talk to the manufacturer of the product that broke, that's inside of it. And that's another problem, is there's too many people with their hands in the pot, too many cooks in that kitchen just to make one RV. They don't make all of their own stuff to go in them. They might make, you know, the outside part, and they might make some of the cabinetry, but they're not going to be making any of the appliances or any of the solar system or any of the electrical or any of that kind of stuff. And if any of that stuff goes wrong, they're not liable for it. You have to go talk to the manufacturer of that. And then you have to find somebody that can help you, and then maybe get that manufacturer to honor your warranty. And that's extremely hard. And yeah, I don't recommend buying a newer RV because of that. I recommend buying something that's used already, and that somebody else has had to deal with all those things and fix it themselves already. But if you buy something brand new like that, you're pretty much up a creek. And I looked at my you know, bank the other day, because I've been thinking about maybe switching rigs eventually, and I wanted to see what kind of financing I could get. And one of the vehicles that they say that doesn't qualify for their financing is RVs of any type. They will not finance an RV, and that's my bank. So if my bank doesn't want to finance an RV, that's a big red flag right there. Okay? And I have one of the biggest banks in the United States, and they say no. They will not finance an RV, period. They don't care what year it is. They don't care how new it is. No RVs. So that's a huge disadvantage as far as I'm concerned. If you can't even get your own bank that will give you a loan for anything else, but they won't let you buy an RV, that right there told me that yes, I am on the right path of not buying something like that, because banks, well, at least my bank, doesn't want them. You know, and like I say, they have lots of issues. They're not designed for somebody to live in full time. They're just not durable enough. They're going to fall apart no matter what. Even if they're a good one, even if they're one of the good ones that I talked about earlier that I really would like, they're just not designed for full-time living. And so you're going to have to be fixing stuff all the time. You're going to have to be fixing the floors in it. You're going to have to be fixing the cabinetry. You're going to have to be fixing, you know, your stove, possibly your sink, whatever the case may be, because they're designed to be used 1 or 2 weeks a year and then be sitting around the rest of the time. You know, so yeah, the house part is going to fall apart. Another thing is the house part is made of such, you know, light weight materials that are not extremely structurally sound, that if a tree branch falls on it, it's going to cause a lot of damage. You know, any little thing just grazes just the side of it, it's going to cause like damage to it, to like a lot of, you know, and it may just be superficial, but if you don't like scratches on your RV and you go to get it fixed, you know, if they can't buff it out or whatever, they have to replace that whole side panel, and that could cost you thousands of dollars, especially if it's a new or newer rig. You're going to be looking at a lot of money. So to me, that's a disadvantage. And also, speaking of money, they cost a lot more to maintain because they're bigger vehicles a lot of times, and they're harder to drive because they're bigger vehicles. Disadvantage, you know, but I mean, you can get big commercial vehicles too, so I didn't really want to list that totally. But yeah, they're bigger vehicles, so they're going to have all the problems with being bigger. You know, there are some exceptions. There are some small RVs out there. I'm not saying that they're not. And, you know, there's some teardrops that are really teeny tiny and probably, you know, less maintenance and easier to take care of. But for the most part, most of you guys that want to live on the road full time, especially people that have never done this before, think they're going to go get a big old Class A or a Class C or even a Class B RV, you know, big old Winnebago or something like that, and go out and do their van life thing. And you guys have got to know that your brake jobs are going to cost more. If you break your windshield, especially if it's a Class A, it's going to cost you more. Your tires are going to cost more. If you have something that has dual tires in the back, you're going to buy 6 tires, not 4 tires, and you have to buy ones that are like at least 6 to 10 ply, and they're going to cost you more. Everything is going to cost you more on an RV than it would on a regular vehicle. And a lot of times, if you do a DIY project, you can use a regular vehicle. Like this van. My van is a regular sized van. Yes, I put a high top on it. I'm the one that made it bigger. It's not bigger than it, you know, it wasn't bigger from the factory. Okay, so it's not as heavy duty as some of your other vans, you know, or trucks. You know, so that's just another thing. And mechanics, man, they see an RV and they're like, ooh, hoo, hoo, I can make some money now. And in fact, a lot of times they won't even take you. They send you down the road to the expensive guy that works on trucks and RVs. So, you know, you're going to be paying more per hour for your mechanic. And just like I say, all your parts and your maintenance and everything's going to cost more. And because they redesign them every single year, a lot of your parts are not going to be the same. And so the poor guy that's trying to fix it, even if he's a good guy, is going to have trouble because that same part is not going to be there a lot of times. Yeah, they do use some standard parts for every single RV out there. Don't get me wrong, they do. Like standard drain parts and standard, you know, plumbing or you know, switches and lights or whatever. But there's going to be some spots in the RV where it's just unique to that one and it's different from year to year. And so you're going to have some trouble possibly getting certain things fixed. So there's a huge stress factor there and a huge disadvantage as far as I'm concerned. So yes, I think that all the disadvantages to having an RV really outweigh the advantages, unless of course you can find some unicorn, or maybe do the best of both worlds and find one that's in really good shape that somebody was already working on, and all you have to do is put the inside in because they've already fixed all the outside, made it more structurally sound because they went all the way down to the studs and made sure there was no rot and all that kind of stuff, and they just got tired of it. And I've seen those on Craigslist. I've seen them. So basically you're getting an RV, something that's titled as an RV, and it's fixed, and you can see that it's been fixed, and the vehicle part is fine and all that kind of stuff, and then you can build your own little house inside of it. That's great. But I don't want to take something that's like an old hoopty or whatever and like pull all the stuff out of it and do that myself. So unless I can find one that I already like, and unless I can find one that's like the rare unicorn that's beautiful already and is perfect the way I want it, or it's been started already and the guy did a good job of shoring it up, I'm not going to buy an RV. So I hope that makes sense. So to me, all of the disadvantages and the stress outweigh what few good advantages an RV has. So I hope this helps you guys. I hope that this made some sense. I hope I didn't just confuse you. Like, again, my goal is not to tell you what to do. I just want to give you guys my opinions and my experiences so that maybe you can have an informed decision. You know, because like I say, even people that have been out here for a while, stuff changes, your needs change. You know, you're going to be going through some different stuff sometimes. And maybe you want to try doing a DIY, or maybe you want to try having an RV because you've never had it before. Or like I say, maybe you're still in your sticks and bricks and you've never done this before. So I'm hoping that some of my insights and some of my experiences help you guys. So anyway, if you like what you saw, please give me a thumbs up and check out my description for all kinds of goodies. And I hope this helps you guys out. And thanks for watching. I try to make it shorter. Sorry, guys. Have a nice day. Bye.